Big Questions with the Dead Milkmen. Each week while working on the new album, the Dead Milkmen ask each other a question. This week's question comes from straight out my butt. And the question is, what are the worst and best pieces of advice that you've ever been given? So I'll start with the negative first, the worst. And I know we could do an entire web series called Rodney's Pet Peeves, but this has been one of them. I didn't even realize it until recently. Every single piece of unsolicited music advice I've ever gotten before or after a show. And I had not thought about it until our buddy Steve Archer from Ego Likeness and from Stoneburner, he gets mentioned in like every other episode. He had done a piece for Sound and Shadows, which is a really good website. And the piece, it got right to the point, very eloquent title, Fuck That Guy. And it was basically saying how he would, he's getting ready to go on stage or coming on stage. There's always this guy like, oh, that snare sounded like shit. You ought to adjust the frequency. And you're like, who are you? Who? And I got these for years. People would say stuff like, you should take singing lessons because singing lessons help me. And I'm like, who are you? I don't know you. Your fan base is one. They helped you like yourself better. It's absolutely amazing to me. It's like they'll go, that sound, like they'll say like that keyboard sound sucked. You should, and I'll be like, pleasure to meet you, Mr. Gary Newman. And they're like, I'm not Gary Newman. I'm like, then why the fuck are you telling me what to do? Dean, I want you to do it's one of the reasons I keep trying to get you to do your electronic stuff live is so you'll have to deal with these people. But they do, they come up to you. And the thing is like, it doesn't bother me too much. I have thick skin and something on my face. I have like really thick skin. So like somebody actually before one of our shows, and I think it was in like Pittsburgh, was like that what you're wearing makes you, and this is when I was thin, makes you look like Uncle Fester. And I wore that for like the next 3 shows just because he said it. I don't care. But the thing that bothers me about this is that they'll say this to people who haven't developed the thick skin yet. A couple of years ago, I was at a show and there were 2 guitarists, and some guy actually went up to one of the guitar players. He's like, dude, your sound sucked tonight. The other guitar player sounds so much better than you. Like, you should use the rig that they have. And walked away. And I'm like, do you know that person? And they're like, no. I'm like, do you want me to beat them up? Because I'll go beat them up. I've been in like more like physical confrontations in the past 2 years because I'm just had it up to here with these folks than I've been in the rest of my life. So that is like my big pet peeve. I always feel bad. You know that Billie Eilish kid? Just did the Bond soundtrack.
Oh, the Bond song. Yeah, she's really great.
Yeah, she's a really good musician. She's great. I feel bad for her because she's young. She's looking at maybe 70 more years of these assholes coming up. That bass sound didn't sound good. Oh man, it's just like it's something. It doesn't bother me when it happens to me, but when I see, and it goes to other things. I mean, other forms of art. I've seen people make brilliant little short films, and then people tell them, well, I thought that like the camera angle could have. Just no. If you only say that if you're asked, and you put it a different way. If somebody comes up to me afterwards and they say, well, how was my guitar sound? Was it loud enough in the mix? I'll usually be like, yeah, I thought it was okay. Maybe it could have been a little louder. Maybe my hearing is blown, is what I basically say. And I say, but the show was great. Nobody walked out. The guy who took the singing lessons, I saw people walk out of that guy's show. I'm just saying it's something that really bothers me. Please, people, don't do this because you're going to discourage somebody. Somebody's going to stop making art because you had to go, that sucks. This is a better way to do it. And if you're the person doing that, trust me, this video is the closest you're ever going to get to doing anything. Watching the video is the closest you're ever going to have to any actual performance experience. So don't do it. Okay, that's.
I think that's a sign of their insecurity, really.
You and I talked about it once, right after Steve wrote the article, Dan. You and I, because I mentioned it to you, and you were like, "That is straight on." Yeah, I'll put in the description. I'll put a link to "fuck that guy," which is becoming a catchphrase. But yeah, it is a line, which is what's going to lead me into the next thing, which is thank you, Dan. It's a great segue. The fact that the best piece of advice I ever got And this came just in time. It came just as I was in my, I think, like late teens, and it changed my life. And this is along the same lines. Is somebody tells you that you can't do something, what they mean is they can't do it. Their limited talent set and experience means they can't do it. Like, oh, I see people like who wanted to start a band and they're in their 40s. I was in my 40s nearly 20 years ago. You know, and they're like, people, oh, you can't do that. You're too old. Now, what they mean is they can't do that. They can't. So really, people, do not listen to anybody who tells you you can't do anything. Just go do what you're doing. Anybody who steps up and says like, would you like some advice? Say, no, thank you. I'm not going to listen to it. And I'm more likely to do the opposite. If you tell me what it is you're telling me to do, I will do the opposite because this works out. So yeah, so just people, don't listen to those people. Go about your own trajectory. If you believe in yourself, if you believe you can do it, you can definitely do it. So go forth and make noise. All right, that's from me. I don't know who's next. I don't know if any of you guys are as angry as I am. Who's the next angriest on the list?
Joe's angry. Joe, how about you go next?
Well, do you want the worst or the best?
You can do
Go
it
worst.
either way you want.
Try to, whatever you want, but I would say, here's advice. I would say end on a positive.
Okay, I'll then. The worst advice I think I ever got was, don't be gay. And that,
That is bad advice.
probably it may be good advice for someone who is heterosexual, but not for somebody like me. And I got that advice as not only as a teenager, but also in my early 20s.
That's like saying, don't be short. Joe, don't be short. Don't be short. You can fix that.
Well, this is why it was bad advice, because I actually took it to heart. And because it wasn't just don't be gay, it was sort of like friendly advice, like don't be gay because gay people, you'll never find true love that way. You're going to have a miserable life. This is the late 70s, early 80s, though.
Charles Nelson Riley, who was gay, was in a committed relationship for like 50 years. So I don't get this. Whereas I know straight dudes that have been on their like 7th divorce. I won't name anybody.
Yeah, exactly. It works both ways. And I didn't have like a psychiatrist or anything put me through conversion therapy, but I did my own like DIY try. It just doesn't work out, and you end up with some self-loathing and whatnot. You know how it goes. So I'd say that's bad advice, maybe the worst advice. Admittedly, not meant to be, but in today's, I don't know if anybody would get that advice even in today's climate.
You know who the vice president is, right? I mean,
I think unfortunately, it's sadly, probably some people do get that advice.
But if you do get that advice and you're questioning or are, gay or whatever, don't listen to it.
And actually, if you're a singer in a band and the guitarist is better looking, or all the other members are better looking, encourage the guitarist to be gay, and then you'll get the women.
Well, I would say the opposite is true. If you don't.
I've been paying $500 a week.
If you're heterosexual, don't let somebody tell you to be gay. I don't know. There are probably fewer cases like that. I know I saw that the documentary with Joe Exotica, without spoiling anything, but that's probably the first instance of somebody.
You're the only person I know to call that a documentary. Everybody else used the
What
term
is it?
shit show. Yes.
Yeah, whatever. What is it? A reality series?
Who knows what it is?
Unreality
It's
series.
a shared hallucination we've all had for being alive.
Anyway, so on the best advice is almost exactly the same as the best advice that Rodney said, but I got it in high school I was in an electronic journalism class. Was it Mr. Carlson? I can't remember his name.
Mr. Swank, I think. Oh no, electronic journalism was Mr. Carlson, I believe. Yeah.
Mr. Carlson, that's who it was. At the very end of the year, he lectured the class and said, whatever you do with your life, your career, especially if it's going to be a creative endeavor, absolutely, like you can do it, you can achieve your goals if you work hard enough, and by any means, you'll probably hear people tell you, no, you can't do that, or you're not good enough. Simply don't listen to them. And I took that advice to heart too. And it was good advice.
That is fantastic.
Because I actually knew what I wanted to do back then, and I knew I wanted to be a rock star. I knew I wanted to be in a band.
And
Everybody said, no, you can't do it. You're not gay enough.
That's probably true.
Yeah, you gotta work harder on that.
I also got advice to take voice lessons. It didn't bother me to take voice lessons, but I got that advice. I got advice in Germany that I shouldn't be a guitar player and I should just quit what I'm doing and do something else. And I remember.
No, wait, now again. First of all, that's in Germany. I mean, the Germans should not be handing out advice. Right? Not like it's a two-strike society there.
Right. It's like, oh, well, I'm already in a band that's touring and making money. Why am I going to take your advice?
I just imagine that in a German accent. I believe that you should quit the guitar and quit what you're doing immediately.
You should play the synthesizer.
Tonight on
You
Jam,
are not a good guitar player. I think I need to tell you that you are not a good guitar player. I've heard that from a lot of people too, not just Germans.
I do not believe this guitar that you are attempting to play.
Everybody has opinions, and not all of them are good.
Who's next? What did we miss here? What happened? There was a pause in the conversation.
I said I'm done.
Oh,
Who's next? Dean?
Sure, I'll go. I found this very hard. As for the negative, I might kind of glom on to what Rodney and what Joe said kind of collectively, which is don't be dissuaded against doing what you think is the right thing to do. It's like, oh, are you sure you want to quit your job and get in a van and go on tour for the summer? How are you going to pay your rent and all that kind of stuff? Are you sure? And I think that really, when you're like, in your 20s and just screwing around, that's the time to like try anything and do whatever and see what happens, because you can always you can always settle down later, as they used to say, settle down. So I kind of agree with what you guys said. I don't know. I guess there have always been people at shows that advise you, oh, well, you should have tuned your snare drum higher because it really didn't cut through the mix tonight for some reason. Oh, wow.
Imagine walking up to Captain Sensible and going, you ought to change that. Like you would be picking your teeth up off the floor.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense.
You're the only band you can talk to like that.
We're going to do what we do. We're going to play like we play, and we are what we are because we decided that we were going to do this, and this is the way we were going to sound. It's nothing other than that. As far as the best advice, I always come back to this statement, and it can be taken very silly. My dad always said, everything in moderation. So, hey, want to try some heroin? Well, just a little bit of heroin.
Be gay, but be gay in moderation.
Just a little bit. But I don't know. It just kind of applies. If you could apply it to certain things, it might prevent you from jumping off that cliff. Or, sure, we're going to go swimming in the ocean in the middle of December. Sure, that sounds like a great idea. Nah.
For moderation, start with a small cliff in late October.
Yeah, right.
To a high cliff. Because remember, I did jump off that bridge into that river that one time.
Yes, you did.
Yeah.
So.
Give me the look.
I always remember that piece of advice from my father.
That's a good piece of advice.
In moderation. Just kind of, I think the goal of it was really to just like make you stop and think, do I really want to do that? Yeah. Okay. It could be yes, it could be no. I don't know.
It encourages you to try things too, though.
Well, yeah, like Joe said,
don't overdo it.
People say you can't do that.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that I quit my job and we went on tour in 1985. It was a very interesting summer.
You know, I say, you know, like start sleeping with one person at a time and build your way up to that massive orgy. Don't jump into that feet first. Yeah, unless that's your thing. If you want to jump in feet first, if that's your king, jump in feet first.
Right.
Oddly enough.
So I think I'm done. Dan.
So I think the best advice that I was ever given was it's better to ask for forgiveness than permission. And I think that explains a lot of my late teens and like entire 20s, I think. But I think actually since I've gotten a little older now in my 40s, I think that has become the worst piece of advice I've ever gotten.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there are many things that I should have to ask for permission or forgiveness for if I feel like I'm doing it in earnest. If that makes any sense.
That makes sense to me.
If you think like you're okay, this is the right thing to do.
Yeah, I don't think I know half of what I need to know to live to be an old man at this point, but I feel like I understand my motivation to do things now, you know? I think I struggled with that for a while, and I think I would like, you know, make decisions and be like, oh, I'll just make this decision, and then if I fuck it up, you know, I'll just be like, oh man, I'm so sorry.
I like how over time the best piece of advice can become the worst piece of advice.
Yeah, and it's funny because it took me a while I was like, what is the worst piece of advice I got? And I was stuck on that as being the good one. And I was like, yeah. And I was thinking about certain things. And then I was like, Then I started to think about other choices I made. And I was like, you know, maybe that's not a really good piece of advice. I'm not sure who told that to me. And it was a long time ago, but it's always stuck with me. So.
All great advice comes from the aforementioned Gary Newman. Gary Newman said one of the smartest things I ever heard, which is, you don't have to read the comments. You don't. He said, I put my music out there. I don't care what happens ever. He goes, you don't. There's no law that says you have to read the comments. And sometimes I'll do that. I read a news story and I just think, well, maybe I'll look at the comments. No, don't read the comment. No.
Well, I mean, people who artists and people who create music and dance and whatever and theater, I mean, they're in a way, they're kind of looking for feedback and approval. And so, but you have to become a mature enough artist to decide that I'm going to do what I'm going to do and screw you all if you don't like it. Right?
Yeah, like Gary Newman's at that point where you can say, I'm Gary Newman. I have a pretty good handle on it.
The permission and forgiveness thing is figurative too. I think there's a lot of stuff where, like you said, Dean, like there are certain limitations I felt I had even as a musician to be like, wow, I can't really do that because, you know, a lot of it was subconscious, but over time you realize it and you look back at it and think, wow, you know, I could have had a different outlook on that, but you know, I try not to let that kind of stuff hold me back with anything I feel like doing, even musically, so.
So what did we learn today? Don't listen to idiots, particularly if they tell you not to be gay. Right?
Sometimes a bad review can actually lead to improvement too.
If it's in Pittsburgh,
if it's a well-written bad review that actually has.
Yeah.
A well-written
Criticism
bad
makes
review
sense.
can be a beautiful thing. Actually, the very first Ramones review in Rolling Stone made a lot of people want to check out the Ramones. Oftentimes, like if I see a bad review from somebody I don't trust, the software I use for on stage with the Milkmen, I got because one of the reviews were like, oh, it's for people who just want to have fun, maybe like punk rockers or industrial people. I'm like, I'd like to check this out. So So I think there's a flip side to that. But I see what you're saying, Joe. A well-written bad review can often be like, I kind of enjoy that. Sometimes I agree with the person.
Yeah.
Unless that review is, they're gay. In which case, you know, that's a bad thing. But it's a positive thing, like they're gay. Well, okay, I might check them out. Again. Okay, if Pat Robertson goes on TV and says, "Oh, this band is terrible," yeah, I'm going to check them out. Put me on the guest
It's a
list.
crime against nature. This band is a crime against nature. It's gonna be good. You know it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I always wondered if like Gigi Allen got more fans when he was on what was it, Jerry Springer?
He was on Geraldo. Geraldo had it.
Oh.
He was supposed to be on Geraldo once, but he didn't show up. I don't know if he ever made it on much TV. Because I know he's
Was
supposed
it
to be on.
Donahue?
What? He was on Donahue?
Maybe it was Donahue.
Gigi Allen? Wow.
Yeah.
Over there.
I thought it was Jerry Springer, like early Jerry Springer. Not
It sounds like a Jerry Springer thing.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I don't know. It's a brave man who would give a bad review to the late.
Maybe I'm thinking of Guar. Guar was on Jerry Springer.
Oh, Guar were on the Joan Rivers show too. So there we go.
Yeah, Gigi Allen was on Jerry Springer. That's at the
Really?
internet. YouTube has it right there.
DG, you are the father. Oh, I know. It's a good review. Yeah. Baby with my own feces. Can I? Oh, I just want to. Can I do a quick thing here?
Sure, I think we finished the question. But we'll circle back to who gets the next one. You want to read the viewer letter?
First, I want to say I want to thank there's eelmonkey Arts. They sent Vienna does the thing. She has the remember the Babadook. He's back here. He appeared in the last video. Actually, they out to all their customers. They sent these lovely masks.
Oh, lovely!
Which are and for free. But
Nice.
among the masks, they also sent the masks, but they sent a mask for the Babadook.
That's awesome.
So that made Vienna super happy. Okay, one quick thing I have to do here. All right, we got an email, and normally we're not like, oh, celebrity, but I think this one, this is we're talking about art, and this hopefully will impress you guys. So this came to me, but they always address like we each get stuff and they address it to the band. So I have my glasses on, but dear Dead Milkmen. Having been an avid fan of your band since the 1980s, I was delighted to discover your Big Questions series on YouTube. I was even more delighted by the professional editing and the sophisticated pacing, as well as the highly creative use of visual effects. After the pandemic has subsided, I would be extremely pleased if you would all come visit me at my home in Hollywood, California. Sincerely, your friend and fan, Stanley Kubrick.
Oh, okay. Hi, Stanley.
Ooh. Must have seen the soundtracks episode.
Yeah, looking forward to meeting big fan Barry Lyndon, Clockwork Orange. So I think that should be exciting for all of us. As soon as the pandemic's gone, out to California and meet Kubrick. Yeah.
The follow-up to Eyes Wide Shut. He's going to do
Okay. So who's next?
I am next.
Joe is next.
You know, I was thinking
So
maybe
excited.
at some point we could take a bunch of the questions, because I've seen, like,
Yeah, I
Jill
see
had
that from the beginning. A lot of
good
questions,
questions.
yeah.
Maybe we could just do like a half-hour session where we just do lightning round, like each of us answers.
I was going to suggest that because there's a couple of good ones in there. Maybe Joe, I'll tell you what. Just if you'd like to do this, if you could just go through and select a group of the questions, like some of them, and we'll just go through as quickly as possible.
Oh, he doesn't want to do that. Okay.
No, he doesn't.
Well, we can do that, but then I lose my turn. So I would do that if we just do that next, and then the one after that, then I can have a question.
Can he have two turns?
Yeah, he could do that.
But that's your idea, Rodney, to do.
So,
It's
I
not
would
mine.
suggest, okay, I'm going to suggest, Rodney, that you compile the questions and send them out to us, and we'll do that next week.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then you can
And
have the
then-
week after that.
And then the week after that, Joe will pick up.
Wait, who's compiling the questions?
You are.
Me. Dan had the same idea. He said it first.
Well, it doesn't matter.
I'll go through the list.
Why don't
Because
we
Dan's
each
busy.
Why don't
Everyone's
we each
busy.
pick three? We'll each pick three and email it to each other.
Okay, that sounds like a good plan.
That's great.
Fair
We'll
enough.
email and say these are mine.
Yeah, great.
All right. That's see other bands. See how we work this thing out. Hey guys,
Make sure you have a Libra in the
hammering
band.
on each other and hammering up the song. A little Metallica there for you. You guys never
So-
seen that a monster? Come on. It's awful. It's the don't be gay advice of documentaries, as it is bad. It's like, you know, avoid. Yeah. All right, are we good? That was a half hour. An
That was a
exciting,
good one.
exciting. Yeah, that was a good
We got
one.
a
All
little
right.
serious there for a while, didn't we?
What?
We got a little serious there for a while, didn't we?
I'll edit that out. I'll edit out the seriousness, and there'll be a butt, and then you'll
Can
know.
you do the Benny Hill music and everything's sped up with it? The wacky
It's called the yakety sax.
yakety sack.
Yeah, there's a video. Maybe I'll link to it up the thing where they took the Last Temptation of Christ and they.
I literally cried when you showed me that. I was literally crying. It was the funny. I was crying.
It is
It was
genius.
hurting.
Oh. All right, everybody.
All right, well,
Let's get out. Let's
see
keep
you-
it while we're ahead. I'll
see
see
you
everybody
next
next week.
all right, take care, guys. Love you.
Bye.
Stewart.
Patrick Stewart.
Did you know that right now over 70 million
Oh, this is an
people
ad.
have had to leave their homes?
Skip.
Hey everybody! Hi!
Hi.
To Sales Corp Industries.
Sales Corp.
Oh, he's watching it now.
This is
No, you're
sales
not supposed to watch it now. All right, watch it now. We're waiting on
I'm
Dan.
wasting your time. I'm
We're
sorry.
waiting on Dan. No, Mike, don't start worrying now about wasting my time.